Welcome back. Thanks everybody for coming. Welcome to Wildlife Cake and Cocktails, episode 6. I'm super amped about this one, obviously. Unfortunately, I'm not drinking, but I've got another non-drinker here. I'm not drinking because of doctor's orders. We've got one because they're a consummate professional. But yeah, I thought that'd get a laugh. It's all right though. We went hard on the cake. I got a lemon lime cheesecake with Australian red lime pearls on the top, which is like a native lime. We do have some cocktails on the table. We have Snake in the Grass, which is basically creme de menthe, vodka, lime juice, and lemonade. I'm drinking an iced latte.
It's just so different to what we eat.
Yeah. It's usually a bit looser than this, but anyway, let's get to it. Hamish, how are you, man? Hamish Noller's back, everyone, from That Reptile Guy, UQ Wildlife Science. What's been happening?
Working hard, studying final year of the degree. Looking forward to graduating.
Final year and then Ecuador?
Ecuador will be in there.
Nice.
Starting a bit further north in Costa Rica and working my way down.
And you're going to go see some Galapagos-ish type of stuff?
I hope so, yeah. Nice. That's the plan.
Nice, very nice. And Hamish has brought along Ahlia Karam, UQ Environmental Science graduate. She's tutoring there as well. Ahlia, you're a bit of a reptile nerd yourself?
I'd say a bit of a reptile nerd. I pretty much got into environmental science because I wanted to, I guess, do something to do with animals and wildlife and reptiles, and that was the closest thing I could get around Brisbane.
And you did demo work with Hamish? You taught Hamish some...
Technically, I taught Hamish some of what he knows.
Yeah. Alright, so he's gained some of his skills from there.
Yep.
And look, our main guest, Scott Eipper, is here today from Nature for You. Nature for You do wildlife education, photography. He's a general educational snake consultant. Doing snake removal as well. What else do you do? Pretty much everything. Breeding.
Yeah, hassle people mainly.
Hassle people mostly.
Nice. No, I do a bit of everything. So whether it be consultancy or safety.
Yep.
So I do a fair bit of safety, OH&S for companies and for mines and stuff like that. A bit of training as well, so teaching people how to not get bitten by snakes, hopefully.
So do you teach snake catchers? Or? Yeah, okay, wonderful.
But I try to do it only for industry. I tend to find that the private sector has got a lot of ego in it. So if I can avoid a bit of that, it tends to be better.
We were having the ego conversation earlier. I think we're going to get into that a lot.
I suppose the other thing when it comes to training as well is that it's really easy to train somebody who doesn't like anyone snakes. Whereas if you...
Somebody who wants to get their hands on...
Well, the problem is that they already think they know everything.
I was about to say, it's because they know everything already.
Yeah, and believe it or not, women are the best students. Because women
doesn't
listen.
surprise me.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Right? They're not macho fucking idiots.
Well,
Okay.
I like my ideas. You know,
I cherish mine. Just ask me how good my ideas are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, there's people out there that like teaching sort of people everything about keeping and working with these things. At the same time, though, I mean, there's a whole different genre when you're working for a mining company or you're working for a industry where you've got to be professional.
Yeah, so OH&S becomes it's a bit different when it's your personal safety than it is occupational health and safety.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful, man. So look, we always like to start kind of with how people go into their various fields. Like, from what I understand, you grew up in Melbourne a little bit, kind of like myself. Bringing home, so look, I grew up down in the Dandenong Ranges, and I was bringing home, blue tongue lizards and white lip snakes when I was about 6 years old. Now, my parents were pissed at me for that. I understand you were bringing home tigers and copperheads.
Just a slight step above.
Yeah.
Oh, look, they're only dangerous if you get bitten. So, and the problem is they've only got one dangerous end too. So as long as you stay away from the dangerous end, it's okay.
They just sound so safe.
They're only tiny little fangs.
Yeah.
So if you can avoid the fangy part,
just leave the sharp bits alone.
What was your like folks' opinion on that?
Okay, so.
Because I know what happened to me.
Okay, so it was basically a battle of wills. So, 5 years old, I'm bringing home tiger snakes and copperheads and prowls and stuff like that. And, it's not what I would recommend 5-year-olds do these days, but hey, when you're 5 years old, you don't always listen anyway, so hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, it was completely illegal what I was doing as well, and we wouldn't recommend it, but,
Yeah, but, it is what it is. I suppose so. Basically, what happened was is that I would go out every weekend, and I would run around the bush and chase animals, bring them home, keep them. My father would come in on Sunday afternoon. He'd see what I've got in my box and go, "You can't have that." Take it back out to where I found it, release it, and I'd get a sore backside and wouldn't be able to sit down for a couple of days.
Okay.
Next weekend would come around, I'd go out, catch another one, bring it home. And so basically this kept going until I was about 10 years old, where Dad's just gone, right, fuck this. I've had enough of this. I'm going to take you to the VHS and you're actually going to learn. So the VHS is the Victorian Herpetological Society.
Wonderful, wonderful organisation.
Second longest running herp society in Australia. And at the time was run by some absolutely amazing people. And so here I am, a 10-year-old kid, listening to people talk about keeping and working with all these animals that I'm absolutely fucking obsessed about. And I'm like, well, maybe I can do this a bit more permanently or whatever. So anyway, so I grew up doing that. So I'm running around VHS meetings, and there's I saw Rick Shine speaking when I was 13 years old. I'm going up to Rick Shine going, "Can you sign my book?" Feeling like an absolute wanker and nervous as hell. But sitting there right in the front row of these lecture halls with all these other herpers around, I'm like, oh. So I suppose with Facebook and social media and all that sort of stuff, I really missed the lack of these sort of meetings and stuff like that, because there was a whole social aspect to going to these things as well, where people would be talking. There'd be dealings going on in the car park and all those sorts of things that never really happened.
Yeah,
of course not.
But yeah, so that was cool.
Fantastic, man. Look, I think we can all say that we would have loved to have been there in that time, to be 13 and to be at those VHS meetings. Sorry.
A very interesting community to be part of.
Yeah, very different community.
Yeah, at that time that would have been unreal.
At the same time, though, such a supportive community.
Yeah.
You know, like
I don't even know what that is.
One of my biggest mentors was Brian Barnett, and people go, "Who is Brian Barnett now?" And it's like, he's got 60 years on the board breeding reptiles. And there was an interesting thing I saw on Stalkbook, of all things, the other day, of somebody talking about hatching an egg outside of the shell. Right, it was chicken egg.
Yeah,
doing it right. So you seen the video, and there's this tagline at the bottom saying, "First time anyone's ever hatched an embryo outside of an egg." Well, fucking Barnett did it with a spotted python back in 1983.
Yeah.
Right.
Just because papers are hard to find doesn't mean
it doesn't mean they don't exist. Exactly. So I suppose you had somebody like that, and he goes, right, he's this 13-year-old kid that is absolutely fucking a lapid crazy, right? And he's like trying to calm down my parents. My parents bring him up to me to meet me, and we're talking, and Brian's like, yeah, no, that's all right. You can keep Venomous Snakes. You just do it the right way. And my parents are like, oh, fuck.
That's not the answer they wanted.
They wanted to hear. Stay away from the... No. So by 14 years old, I had a collection of about 60 Venomous Snakes, and 16 years old, I'm keeping taipans and all sorts of crazy shit.
Wow. So you coastals and inlands as well?
Coastals and inlands at 16.
Wow. So look,
not a good idea. I mean, I've never been fanged by a taipan.
Let's keep it that way.
Yeah. So I mean, I suppose with me, I went through a fairly significant change in 2005, which we'll get to later in regards to safe handling methods and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, look, we all do some dumb stuff when we're a bit younger, but we will get into that as well. But look, actually, for now, I actually want to ask, what's your favourite animal? Obviously, like, you keep so much stuff. Do you have one? I mean, I'm guessing it rotates?
No.
Taipans?
No. Actually,
big intelligent taipan?
Probably red bellies.
Really? Okay. They are one of the coolest, honestly. Their personality and kind of chill nature is...
Yeah, and I've just watched them.
Yeah.
They're red and they're black.
They're gorgeous. They're stunning, really. When you get a really nice crimson one, it's like,
they're pretty laid back.
Yeah. My buddy's got one with that where that white blonde snout is all the way across the top of the head, and a little blonde across the parietal scales.
Well, I've got some at the moment that look like almost like the North American indigo snakes.
Yeah.
They've got the super labials are all red.
Yeah.
So they're pretty cool.
That's incredible.
And then, I mean, taipans. Coastal taipans. I mean, inland taipans are dumb as dog shit. But, and I haven't played with temporalis yet. So, I mean...
It's on the books?
Well, hopefully I'll get to them at some point in time. But coastals are a thinking snake.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And they really separate the men from the boys, to be completely sexist. The reality of it is with them, though, is that a lot of people go, oh, yeah, they're really easy to handle. And, yeah, you get a good taipan on a good day, 99.9% of the time, it will be as cruisy as fuck. But that taipan can go from fucking 0 to 100 in a quarter of a second.
Yeah, right.
It's the scariest fucking thing in the world. And they get big, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, well,
People
over
don't
3
realise-
meters, basically, yeah? Oh.
Yeah, papillons are meant to get to 3.35 metres is the largest one ever recorded. But
Yeah.
in Australia, the largest one ever recorded was like 3.08, I think it was.
That's a massive
And,
venomous snake.
like, to give you an idea, there's a photo of that snake in my laptop book, and there's a Pepsi can
Right here,
next
by the
to
way.
that. Yeah, good, sure. There's a photo of that snake next to a Pepsi can. And so, like, you look at the roundness of it, and it's like that. So it's rounder than my forearm.
Wow.
That's a big fucking snake. And so when that's coming at you with a mouth open, that's a scary, scary thought.
Yeah, that's a little bit...
I only ever saw that snake dead, so I never saw it alive. So, but I've dealt with some big ties, and some big taipans can cover ground really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're striking at your hips as opposed to your knees or something like that.
Jesus. Well, look, very cool. Anyway, I've only ever seen ties in captivity, and I think I've seen one in some sugarcane in Mooloolaba while I was fishing.
Yep.
It didn't look like a eastern.
Yep.
But you know, can't be sure. Now, look, since we're on the topic, I suppose we've got to talk about envenomation. Not to like bring you up on the spot.
We can talk about envenomation. I don't mind. Don't get envenomated.
Yeah. I mean, look, for anybody who's thinking about getting into venomous snakes, I mean, it's a reality, you know, that they kind of have to think about before. Are they keen to get into keeping potentially deadly elapids?
I suppose there's two things that you need to consider. It's not your own safety; it's the safety of anyone else is around you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you've got to ask the question: am I willing to put my family at risk?
Yeah.
My housemates at risk?
Yeah.
You're bringing a venomous snake into their house as well. So that's the first thing you need to probably consider.
Yeah.
Second thing you need to consider is, well, why? Why do you want to do it? You know, and for me, yeah, there's plenty of people that get into it for machoism, and they will stick their fucking chest out and go, oh, I've got a venomous snake. Any people that keep venomous snakes for a long time realise that is the stupidest reason in the world to keep venomous snakes. If you want to keep venomous snakes, keep them because you like them, because you find them interesting, you know, whatever the case may be. As opposed to dealing with sticking your chest out and going, well, I've got a taipan, so I'm fucking better than you. You know?
Being edgy.
Yeah. And, you know, you can usually pick it. I mean, what tends to happen, and, you know, I've been around a little while now, and I suppose what I tend to notice is that people will go in and they'll get their black snakes first, and after they get their black snakes, then they'll get like an adder or a tiger or something like that, and then a couple of years later they'll get something else. Then they won't get their taipan. By the time they get their taipan, it's usually 2-3 years in, and they think they fucking know everything. And so they start giving advice to everybody about how to do this and how to do that. And, you know, I mean, I suppose to a point I was one of those fuckwits too.
You gotta pass that
I've
bridge.
got past that. So I suppose the easiest way to describe it is that, you know, you keep reptiles for 5 to 10 years, you think you know something about it, and you really think you know about snakes. You walk into a room and go, I know about these things. And then 15 years go by and you go, maybe I don't know quite as much as what I thought I knew. And, you know, I've been keeping reptiles now. I'm 37. I started keeping them when I was 5. So a little while, 30 years. And I realise I know fuck all.
Yeah,
Right.
So it takes you a while to rediscover your own ignorance there.
Yeah, pretty much. But I suppose the other thing that comes back to it, though, is that you also learn to not be so dismissive of other people as well.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
You can have somebody that's just come into it, that picked up on something that you've never seen. You know,
yeah,
and fresh
very
eyes are an amazing thing. So, my advice to people is not be a bit nicer to each other.
Yeah.
You know? Don't be so.
People can get really competitive about it.
Yeah, the herp community can get a bit competitive and butt heads a lot, and you know, disagree with
There's
each
a
other to the
certain
point that
crowd
they
that attracts
Well,
unfortunately.
At the same time, it's up to each individual to make that part of the community better, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we can all be better people.
Yeah.
If we want to.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I could try harder.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But trying requires effort.
Yeah, sure.
Effort requires energy, and energy needs to be, it's a finite resource.
Sure.
And I think the fact that it's online a lot these days
You
doesn't
can
help.
hide.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of people are hiding behind a keyboard
Oh, people
on these
love being a
forums,
keyboard warrior.
and that does not help at all.
Reptile keyboard warrior. That's
A new one.
yeah.
Well,
Wow.
I imagine if there was an argument at one of those shows that you used to go to as a kid,
Yeah.
it's not like
The
it'd be more of a
same, yeah.
discussion, maybe a bit heated, but it's not going to go that out of the way.
I've seen
No.
full-blown fist fights.
I was wrong. There we go. It's always been the same.
But there's the
Maybe not as
again there's the
often.
difference.
Yeah.
You can just punch people, but you can't
And
do
then
that
you're
with
done.
the internet. Like
You just argue for hours and hours.
Turn your caps lock on.
Yeah, that's it.
At the same time, though, right, and even though that was a bad example, I will go across it and sort of agree with you as well.
Yeah.
At the same time, you had a lot of people there that would sit there and just keep their fucking mouth shut, and they'd be listening to two people have an argument about husbandry or anything like that, and they'll be fairly respectful. And see, I read a book about body language and stuff like that, completely off topic, but 90% of human communication is not through text.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so it's in the way that you speak, it's in the way that you hold your body, it's in the way that you change the pitch and tone of your voice. So you're typing. How the fuck does anyone know what you're actually trying to say?
Yeah.
you got to try to imagine how angrily they're hitting the keyboard on the other side.
And when
and
there's
see, this is the problem. This is where it becomes a big clusterfuck. Is that somebody imagines that you were being angry, and then the other person goes, and when that person was actually trying to help.
Yeah. And so you read into it what was not meant to be there.
Exactly.
and when there's 10 to 15 people all trying to get in at
getting in,
once, and people are trying to get their opinion in as quick as possible, otherwise they're halfway down the line and the conversation's changed. There's not a lot of time.
I've definitely been
for
misunderstood quite a few times.
there's not a lot of time for a casual and informed
Interaction,
discussion. It's just everybody get in as quick as they can.
And everyone wants to have their own say
Yeah.
and be first.
Yeah, I think there's also one other thing as well. And people say, "Oh, it's a good time to grow up," when I did and stuff like that. I look back at like people like Richard Wells and Glenn Shea and Alex Dudley and those guys when they grew up. They're sort of like the generation before me. And you listen to the way that what they got to do. They didn't have to worry about parks and wildlife.
Oh, no.
They could just go out and fucking do whatever they
Collect
wanted.
what they want.
And they could go out and collect stuff, and they could go out and do this, and they could go out and do that. Wildlife departments have made it that we can't do that. So there's that whole other issue. At the same time, though, now you look at what kids are doing, and there's some young ones that are sort of grown up either on the forums and then sort of come across on the Facebook. 15-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids, whatever, and you see them actually grow up. At the same time, though, you see those same kids and they're arguing with people like Steve Wilson, and they're arguing with Glenn Shea, and they're arguing with Brian Bush and stuff like that, and they're arguing with these really, really smart, intelligent guys that are really nice and friendly people as well.
Yeah.
And they argue about this, or they argue about that. And then the other side of it as well is that these people are available to talk to these kids and give them something.
It's just the burning resources left, right, and centre.
I met Steve Wilson back in 94, I think it was. 94 or 95, I met Steve for the first time, and that was after a VHS meeting because he came down and did a slideshow and stuff like that. The slides and digital fucking cameras, and it used to cost a lot of money to take photos. But so you'd go up and you'd talk to Steve, get him to sign your book or something like that at the end of a talk, and be enthralled in what he's saying. Now people can go, "Hey Steve, what's this lizard I found in my backyard?" And Steve's like, "Oh, well, this is what it is." So you've got this opportunity where people are able to straight away sort of interconnect. At the same time, though, then you also get this people where they're growing up on Facebook and they're puffing their fucking chest out and they're doing what they got to do. And so they look like fools in front of those same people as well. So, let's put a brown snake around my neck, or let's do whatever we're going to do. So I'm really thankful that I didn't grow up as a teenager through Facebook at the same
Way
time.
harder to make a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe in a few more.
Way harder to look stupid.
Well, look, I was talented about looking stupid. How's that?
Yeah.
Well, look, let's bring it back to envenomation if you don't mind.
Sorry.
That's
I told you I'd do this.
I know it's going to happen anyway. You know, like we usually hear drinking. I mean, we get sidetracked badly. But look, just for our audience out there, do you want to describe a little bit what a venomous snake bite was like for you? I know there was a couple that we spoke about. There was the spotted black and the marsh snake.
Okay. So I'll talk. My first bite was actually from a shield snout, a brown snake.
A spitterenka.
A spitterenka.
Right.
So I was moving it from one cage to another and it banged me on the little finger. And I looked down and I remember looking down and going, oh, fuck, that's not good.
Yeah, that'd be.
And that's like the first thing that goes through your mind. Oh, fuck, that's not good. Anyway, so I put it back in this box. I've gone and put the bandage on. Gone and my mum's seen me and she's just started crying. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
That's worse than the
worst
bite,
part.
isn't it? That's way worse than the bite.
So that was that. So anyway, that was back in 94. Anyway, 96 comes around. And I was breeding venomous snakes at that point in time. And I had this clutch of spotted black snakes. And, I suppose one that was about yay long, so 2.5 feet.
Yearling, basically.
Yeah, yearling. It smashed me on the little finger. We used to use light bulb boxes as hides. You know, so had them in like plastic containers and then you use the light bulb box as a hide and you throw it away when it gets manky. So anyway, the back of the light bulb box, there's like a little bit of a fold. So the snake's curled up inside the hide box. So I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, I'll just grab that out like that. Put it into the bin and then clean out the cage. So anyway, my little finger, the end of that looks like a pink mouse, a pink rat. So anyway, this spotted black just smashed me on the end of the fucking little finger. And I remember looking at it going, fuck, and flipped it. And I watched the snake fly from one side of the room to the other. I'm like, oh, that fucking hurt. Anyway, I walked over, picked the snake up, fucking threw it back in the cage. I was like, fucking prick. I'm like, it's just spotted black, who gives a fuck? You know, it's only a little one.
Yeah. I'll be right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no bandage on or anything like that. I've gone inside, told my old man, I said, I've been smashed by a spotted black. And he goes, how bad are they? And I go, nah, they're alright. And what did he say? He goes, I keep an eye on you. Anyway, about 3 minutes later, I'm like, nah, fuck, we better go to the hospital. So fucking bandage on. Anyway, old man's like flying down Dandenong Road in Melbourne, fucking 120 k's an hour, up through the tram lines, the whole fucking lot. Anyway, pulls in the Alfred Hospital. Anyway, so we go in, and then we had this whole argument about what I'd been bitten by in the hospital. And anyway, it came down to the doctors. The doctors said, look, you don't get spotted black snakes in Victoria. And my comment to that was, well, in my fucking shed you do. Okay? And so...
You get everything in my shed.
Yeah. You know, so then... They got onto a serum guy, a venom researcher guy, and spoken to him. And when they spoke to him, he goes, no, okay. If he's saying he's been bitten by that and he's so adamant about it, then maybe you should listen to him. You know, he's got a license,
Right.
So, long story short, 2 ampules of antivenom later. And I had to get a SVDK test. And they're like, well, we haven't had a confirmed case from a spotted black snake bite before. We're going to see how it's going to react. I'm like, oh, yeah, all right, no worries. So the fuckers gave me a catheter.
What a treat.
Because your day wasn't bad enough.
You reckon that being smashed by a venomous snake is bad? Get a catheter with no fucking anaesthetic. It sucks.
And no anaesthetic?
No anaesthetic. Well, you don't want to suppress the nervous system.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it fucking sucks. It's sensitive.
So there's another thing to think about.
So,
if you do get a neurotoxic bite, no pain.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it was just the case. I think
maybe that was what it was back in the day.
I don't know. I mean, I know other people that have had pethidine and stuff like that.
Yeah, after a venomous snake
like that. So maybe it was just me. I don't know. Maybe they were teaching me a fucking lesson. So anyway, I've got permanent damage in my left hand.
Really?
Yeah, I lost my sense of smell and taste for 2 years.
Wow.
How's the cake?
Fucking fantastic.
Hey, we're back.
Came back.
Yeah.
But I have permanent damage now, nerve damage from my little finger up to here, that part of my arm.
Wow.
And, you know, I burnt it pretty badly because I didn't feel it burning.
Yeah, right.
So it was a pretty bad bite. Few other bites in between here and there, basically because I was a hands-on keeper and I was also a teenager and thought I was indestructible. You know, I get a bite, go to the hospital, get antivenom, you'll be right, keep moving. That all changed in 2005. I got a bite from a swamp snake, medically insignificant.
Hemiaspis signata, just little blue-bellied marsh snakes.
Yeah,
swamp
so
snakes,
the one that smashed me was 3 feet long. So it was a big
Okay, so
size.
it's a decent size.
Wow.
Anyway,
It was a big
I've never seen a marsh snake.
it was big. It was bigger than, it was thicker than my thumb. Anyway, so I'm curled it up like this for photos. So I'm holding it underneath my hand like this for a photo. First guy takes photos. Second guy takes photos. The snake's just fucking calm as fuck. Anyway, next thing you know, fucking bangs me on the little thing in there. And I literally lifted my hand up like this, and it's just like attached. You fucking prick.
dangling off your finger.
Like, why are you doing this? Anyway, pull him off.
You can't even kill me.
Right? Curl him back up again with my hand. Right? Get my photos. And as I'm like trying to focus the camera, I'm feeling my hand swelling up, and I'm actually struggling to focus the camera because my hand's swelling up that much. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, you know, it's gonna. Yeah. You read all the books. What do they say? Oh yeah, it's like a bad wasp sting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you expect a bit of pain.
Somebody, there was a herpetologist who wrote down the account. I read the paper. Hemiaspis signata gets bite, and there's a paper of him. It's an old paper of him just sitting down, just describing symptoms, being like headache, a little bit of blood in the urine. That's about it.
Yeah. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
So, about 25 minutes later, fucking eyes are starting to run, you know. I'm like, fucking, you know, I'm feeling a bit sick and sorry, my fingers all swollen, a bit sore. And then, I'm like, itchy, nose running, itchy, and I'm sort of, ears are burning. Fuck, okay. Anyway, I look down the inside of my arms. I mean, the inside of my arms are just fucking hived up. Alright, like completely hived up. Oh, my chest is hot. So I've pulled my fucking, looked at my shirt, my whole chest is
Hives and
completely
rashy
hived.
and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I look in the rear vision mirror. We're like 300k from fucking anywhere. Look in the rear vision mirror of the fucking cruiser, and look, my face is like bright fucking red, and my lips are gone blue. And I'm like, oh, this might be a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
My mate's with me. He goes, "Oh, how you feeling?" I go, "Oh, not so fucking hot." He goes, "Do we need to go to the hospital?" I go, "Oh, nah, we'll be alright. We'll be okay. We'll just sit." And I'm like sitting there quietly concentrating on my breathing, and I'm like,
Oh, those
"Oh shit."
airways are starting to
Okay, my
close.
airways are starting to close. I'm like, "Hey, dude, we better fucking go."
So that's not standard reaction to marsh snake.
Well, yeah. So basically, anaphylaxis. So
Allergic reaction.
I had an anaphylactic reaction
Yeah.
to. That was my first anaphylactic reaction. And so basically, what happened was it was like some fucker was sitting on my chest, and I couldn't. I was really struggling to actually intake oxygen.
Yeah.
Right, and basically what that was is that my airways were shutting, and because my airways are shutting, it was really hard and being constricted to actually breathe. Long story short, I was like that for about half an hour from the onset till where it started to sort of give way, and so the symptoms effectively reversed. And so my head started to clear, my eyes cleared up, hand was just swollen as fuck. But, you know, and then it's fine. And then sort of 12 hours later, I'm out chasing snakes again. You know,
Wow.
And
Straight back into it.
well, I had to catch a brown snake backhanded because I couldn't close my hand the right way because my hand was like swollen. Can't miss them.
Oh my god.
So I get back, and then I can't remember who I spoke to. I spoke to somebody, a toxicologist anyway, and told him what happened. And he's like, "Yeah, you went through anaphylactic. You're pretty lucky to be here." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "What was it?" And I said, "Swamp snake." And he goes, "Oh, you've been bitten by them before." And this was the interesting part. No. That was the very first swamp snake I had ever seen,
And it got you.
and it bit me.
Yeah.
All because I was being
Yeah,
an
yeah,
arse.
yeah.
Well, normally you just wouldn't take him seriously. Like,
Yeah,
who
exactly.
does?
Exactly.
I've done the exact same thing as you countless times.
Yeah.
You just
So-
wouldn't think that was going to happen.
Exactly. So you think it's not going to fucking happen. Anyway, so this is why it was, in some ways, I'm really happy it did. All right.
Learn a lesson.
So, yeah, well, you only learn a lesson if you act upon that lesson, don't you? So,
Yeah, right.
anyway, so basically what ended up happening was I looked at it and gone, well, okay, I've never seen a swamp snake before. I've never been exposed to any of their toxins before. I'm obviously allergic to some enzyme or some protein that's common to quite a few snakes. but I don't know what that is. So I need to be careful. Doesn't matter what it is. So I suppose what that's led to me now is what I explain to every person that I come into contact with when it comes to working with venomous snakes. Don't disregard the fact that it might be highly toxic, anything like that. If you can't get oxygen into your lungs, and that oxygen from your lungs can't oxygenate the blood to your heart, it doesn't matter, you're going to fucking die anyway. So it doesn't matter what a book says, alright? My book says, mildly venomous on this and mildly venomous on that, da-da-da-da. If you happen to be the one that actually reacts to that particular toxin, you're fucked either way.
Yeah.
So
very true.
I suppose for me where it was good is that because it was a species of snake that is regarded generally as mildly venomous, it made me sit up and think that these symptoms are actually due to anaphylactic reaction, due to an allergic reaction, as opposed to symptoms of an envenomation, which is so varied depending on what you get bit by. And so there's two ways I could have dealt with that afterwards. All right. The first way is to go, I'm not going to tell anyone about my embarrassing story.
Yeah.
And then the next person comes along and then they get bitten by something and they go through the same sort of shit as I do.
Yeah.
Or, alternatively, I can look like a fuckwit to a few people
In public.
and tell people about it.
And so people are going to learn from it.
Yeah,
So the deal was that, fuck it, you know what? I'll tell people about it. And I put the photo up of me looking absolutely fucking rat shit, alright, in my talks when I'm doing a talk to a Herp Society. And the comments that I get are, and they go, fuck, you were a lot skinnier then. But I suppose that we're going with that, though, is what happens is at least people are learning from
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
fuck up.
exactly.
Yeah, honest, and we thank people like you for it all the time. I mean, how else would people know? Or
Well,
learn?
I suppose the way I look at it is if I've helped one person through that I don't know if I've helped them or not. If one person hasn't had to go through what I went through, happy days, I'll cop a bit more shit for it.
Yeah.
Is it normal for the reaction to reverse though?
I
Like when
don't
you have
know.
allergic reaction to something?
I don't know.
I feel like a lot of people don't get to see that reverse.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They get to a point and
So yeah,
Goodbye,
it could
yeah.
even be you might have saved someone from like not having the reverse at all. Like if they get bitten.
I'm not sure.
So-
it just sucks.
So you have to take more precautions now, basically.
Yeah, so I've got an EpiPen. I carry an EpiPen with me, and I've got an EpiPen in the snake building as well. So,
Yeah, right.
you know, and basically I changed my whole handling styles as well. So,
Yeah, right.
You know, I went from somebody who was really, really hands-on,
Yeah.
free-handled a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's types of free handling too, alright? So when I say free handling, I'm not talking about putting shit around your neck,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. It's where you're manipulating an animal with care without using
Without a tool, yeah. Other than your hands.
And you know, I still do that sort of stuff on occasion to a point. But generally speaking, it's a lot easier just to use hooks and stuff like that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, look, I've got friends who come from either end of the spectrum. Some people will free handle, and I've got other mates who will never touch a hot ven. You know,
Yep.
they'll double hook their McDennies. They won't tail them, you know, unless they really need to get that head into a tube. It's going hook, and it's going in the bin. You close the bin, and done. So it's one way to do it. And look, everybody, we are going to get into handling a little bit later, but look, there's a lot of different opinions on that.
and there's nothing wrong with that. You
yeah,
can't
no,
be too careful either. So
Absolutely, no. And look, whatever works for you, works for you. Honestly, getting your hands on the animal is sometimes the only option when it's fleeing or it's in a weird situation or a corner or whatever, or you need to,
especially
let's
for
say,
snake catchers.
Yeah, well, if you
Yeah.
need to pin
It's
it,
not always
and,
in a
you know,
glass
it's-
enclosure.
Yeah.
If it's caught in some bird netting or something, you need to
Yeah.
restrict its movement as soon as possible before it shreds itself. You know, that kind of fun stuff.
So I could argue with you on that.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. And I will. Fuck it. I will.
Yeah, let's. Well, what's your opinion on getting snakes out of bird netting?
No. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay,
You said that there are times you need to put your hands on a snake.
I think so. Yeah.
Bullshit.
Okay.
What's the three most important things when dealing with a snake?
Safety.
Whose safety?
Yours.
people
Yours
around
and
you.
the snake.
Your
Snakes.
safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's number one.
Yeah.
Number two,
People around you.
safety of everyone around you.
Yeah.
Number three is
Snakes.
the welfare of the snake
Yeah.
itself, right? Where does it say that you have to have a fucking time clock on how you catch that snake?
True. Yeah, there's no rush, is
So
there?
you just said to me, it's fleeing, I've got to put my hands on it to catch
Yeah.
it. No, you don't. Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go through. Let it get to an area where it's safer for you to capture it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now, the reason I say that is because when I'm training people in the mines, I don't want some novice fucking walking up to and grabbing a fucking mulga snake or a brown snake by the tail. All right, because if you're reaching down to grab that snake by the tail, your head is coming into close contact with that animal.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get a 6 foot mulga snake, you're by the tail, it's on your forehead before you have a chance to fucking react.
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit different for snake catchers that are doing it all the time, and they sort of learn the distances and what they can move and stuff like that. But there's no reason, if somebody wants to avoid actually handling a snake with their hands, there's no reason why you can't avoid it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So sorry. Anyway.
Well, all right. Well, what about something difficult like a rescue? If you've got an animal caught in webbing and you do need to pin it. I understand that you could pin it using jiggers and things like this, but the amount of control with a couple of jiggers compared to getting it tubed and getting your hands on the animal is a little bit different.
So why not jigger it and then put it onto a tube?
Well, I mean, you still got to get your hands onto it after it's in the tube, right?
But once it's in the tube, so.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's still it's a way of getting your hands on the animal is to tube it.
Yeah,
right?
But I suppose the difference between those is if
rushing in and
once
tail
the animal's actually in the tube,
secured and safe,
the snake's secure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want another solution where you could do that?
Yeah.
So get it into a container.
Yeah.
Anaesthetise it.
Yeah, of course.
So people are using anaesthetised systems in the States.
Yeah, right.
So there's zoos in the States that, for their mambas and stuff like that, what they do, there's trap boxes.
I wonder about wildlife rescuers here in Australia.
I don't see why they can't do it. But they have a trap box that's got a medical grommet on it.
Yeah. Okay.
So what they can do is they can actually separate that cage off the exhibit.
Right.
Rolls it over. They can use anaesthetic gas, plug it into a port on the hide box, anaesthetise whatever's inside it. Happy days.
Yeah, and then you can work on it safely.
And then you can work on an animal safely.
Yeah.
So there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Absolutely, and a lot of things to consider there, definitely. All right, look, before we get into some of the really geeky stuff, look, if anybody out there listening or watching is keen, I recommend jumping on Facebook or Instagram. Where else are you guys? wildlifedemonstrations.com.au?
No,
just .com. And checking out some of the awesome photos. You can get some of these shirts there as well. I got my nice... Rhinus Gouldier right there, San Goanna. So it's Nature 4, letter 4, U, Y-O-U on Facebook, and Nature, F-O-U-R-U on Instagram. I think there's some really nice Bell's Form glamour shots. Your Parenti spot is absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. It's one of my unicorn animals. 3 days after I left a site in volunteering, they got a Parenti, and I still haven't found one in the wild.
That's right. They're overrated.
So look, you obviously spend a lot of time in the field anyway. Great way to learn about wildlife, and particularly if you're paying attention to the conditions. For would-be herpers, snake nerds, people keen to get into it and get out there. Do you have any recommendations? Any tips for people to get who are keen to get out herping who haven't really done too much of it before?
Leave the snake hook and the snake bags at home.
Bring the camera, and that's it. Yeah.
Depends on where you are. I mean, I'd contact the local herb society is probably the first thing to do.
Yeah.
If you get in contact with the herb society, they'll be able to. In New South Wales, there's field trips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Field naturalist clubs, fucking awesome. Yeah. That's a really good resource.
And we were speaking of some of the people in the UQ Herb Society here in Brisbane as well. For people at the University of Queensland or here in Brisbane interested, you can find them on Facebook as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about as far away from a university student as you can get. And I'm at the UQ Herb Society a fair bit, and they do. They had a thing up at Glorious not too long ago.
Yeah, they have some really
12 herpers go out to the scrub and look at animals. So.
No worries. All right, guys. Just really quickly, I think we're going to have a quick 5-minute break before we get into some other stuff. We'll be back in a few minutes. Hang around. And we're back again. I have no idea what we were talking about before break, but that's okay. I suppose we should talk about this phenomenal piece of work, A Guide to Australian Snakes in Captivity, Elapids and Colubrids, by our wonderful guest, Mr. Scott Eipper. So look, this came around when like a lot of this information was kind of out and scattered all over the place, right? There wasn't really a place that had brought it all together into one thing for people keen to get into, keeping, breeding, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So what happened was Danny Brown up on the Sunshine Coast, he was talking with the publisher about doing a lizard book, and so the publisher turned around and goes, well, yeah, that's all well and good, but we want to do ones about snakes and frogs and turtles and everything. So Danny rings me up and goes, you know how you reckon you're going to write a snake book? And I go, yeah. And he goes, I've got a publisher, are you interested? And I'm like, fuck yes, let's do it.
Nice.
So 2 weeks later, we've got a meeting with the publisher and deadlines and stuff like that, and started working on this book. And so I set out, basically the first thing I did is when I roughed out the book, I roughed out the headings of what I wanted, and then I was like, right, well, what do I actually want to see in a book? And what did I want when I was getting into it? And so I put my hat on when I was sort of 10, 15 years old about the information I was looking for when I'm looking to keep a species and stuff like that. And then basically go through the literature like a fiend and try and chase up references to everything, as well as then using my experience as a keeper as well. So it's a bit of a conglomerate of both of those things, and then also using other people that I knew over the years to come and give me some assistance with certain things. The most important thing, though, about that particular book and the frog book that I did as well, and the other books in the series, is that they all had peer reviewers. Okay, I cannot sort of reiterate how important the peer review process was.
So there'll be a lot of pet keeping books that you'll see at pet shops, which don't have to go through a peer review process. This technically doesn't have to go through a peer, but it has been through one. It's just so the anybody any potential audience for it can know that other people other than just the author have had their eyes on it to confirm that what is in there is.
I suppose the other thing as well too, there was a couple of other things that I was pretty adamant about, and I said this to the publisher right from the start, is that if we're going to have a veterinary chapter, I want it authored by a veterinarian.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay? I'm not a fucking vet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not any way qualified that I should be speaking on veterinary subjects.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got an understanding, okay, but at the same time, I certainly shouldn't be authoring that. So, and there's a whole legal liability side of things there as well. So it's like, you know what, I'm going to go the right way here. So Rob Johnson from Sydney came on board with that, and he authored that. And then same thing when it comes to, in my case, venomous snake bite and envenomations. I did write the chapter on that, and then that was peer reviewed by Dr. Ken Winkle, who was the director of the Australian Venom Research Unit down in CSL, University of Melbourne down in Victoria there. And so we went through afterwards, and he made sure that everything that I had written was not only was factual, but was also up to date. The first aid stuff that's suggested in that is also what is based on the findings of Canal et al., which was based on the use of elasticized compression bandages as opposed to using crepe bandages and stuff like that. Since that's come out, there's been a paper that has significantly changed snakebite first aid in that it's giving recommendations to pressure for legs versus arms versus chest, recommends an actual type of bandage now. So there's all these changes that have happened since that. So if there ends up being a revised edition, which there may or may not be happening, we'll obviously adopt those. No, there's no there.
We got it on camera.
I've got a fuck up list for that book as well. So, I misspelt Blitoquatus in the book.
Oh, really? Giant error. Yeah.
No. It's like repeated like 6 times in there, and like one person goes up to me and goes, "Oh, did you know you misspelt that?" And I'm like, "Oh, fuck."
I'm just gonna throw my copy away.
I think
blame it on that spell check. Correct all.
The way I figure it is like, well, hang on. There was other fucking peer reviewers that missed this fucker as well.
Exactly. And look, really, honestly, it's for me one of the best things about it is how it's split into 2. So kind of all your general keeping and all of that at the start, and then you go into specifics for basically each individual species or genus if they're housing requirements or keeping requirements are similar enough. And those are both in split as well into in wild and in captivity. So there's wild observations as well. Absolutely phenomenal, man. Look, if anybody out there is keen to get into keeping Australian venomous snakes, that is the book for you. Where can people get this at the moment still?
Online.
Track it down, guys.
Track it down online.
Yeah.
The one thing quickly with it that I really liked about it, there's a couple of things I tried to get in there. One thing, there's a whole section on how to get snakes eating.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, right? There's actually like a step-by-step guide, which is perfectly applicable to pythons and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I really liked in there. And then the other thing as well is that by having the wild stuff and the captive stuff, it actually gives some guidelines there, you know. And there's more than one way to skin a cat. So that's the other thing that needs to be remembered. This is the way that I've done it and the way that's worked for me. Other people can do it different ways. Yeah. So
it's not. The methods in there aren't the only way to do it. Yeah, absolutely.
And especially for the smaller lappets, there is not a lot out there in the literature on how to do a lot of these things. And for me personally, I went around and talked to a lot of people, and like I said, I got told a different way every single time, if not being told to just not bother because it was too hard. And that's probably my favourite part of the book, was the fact that it actually gives you, this is how you can do it.
Well, this is how I did it. It doesn't mean to say it's the right way, but that's how I did it.
Well, it worked for me as well. So there's two people.
That's a good start.
Well, we don't have time to go through it all here today. I wish we did. I wish we could talk about this book for a long time, but I think we're going to have to get into our new research segment, guys.
Please do.
All right, let's do it. So, starting locally with Welton et al. It was, believe, Ronell Welton. Injury trends from envenoming in Australia, 2000 to 2013. This is in the Internal Medicine Journal. So, Australian venomous creatures and their bites are pretty well sensationalised. We can all agree to that, I think. Bit of a paucity of data on envenoming. I mean, there has been previous work done by Bradley and obviously the work by Strawn Sutherland and all those guys, rest in peace, of course. Wicked stuff done previously. But I guess for when it comes to evidence-based decision-making on population-level health issues, for planning, resource allocation and stuff, you need data. So directly from the introduction here, individuals within different population groups require different types of support from the health system with varying risks, including age, gender, cultural background, geographical location, and remoteness. Evidence is necessary to support decision-making, planning, resource allocation, coordination, integration across health areas. So basically what they did, they took Australian Institute of Health and Welfare cause of death records, cross-checked against the National Coronial Information System, as well as medical literature, media reports, and looking for correlations and inconsistencies. You get a couple of sources correlated together, the cases included in the data set, excluding non-residents, open investigations, and so on. The data is mapped using ArcGIS, geographical information software, with the Australian Bureau of Statistics data overlay. Data was, of course, split up by 5-year age increments, gender, state-specific populations, remoteness, and the results are pretty fun. Arthropods, as far as admissions into hospital, arthropods cause about 76%, snakes cause 15%, and marine creatures cause about 9%. Of the deaths, we've got 33 from arthropod anaphylaxis, so that similar, getting envenomated by something you've never been envenomated before, and you just happen to be super allergic to it, and your lungs shut down. And we have 33 from arthropods, 27 from snakes. Of those snake bite deaths, 66%, this is directly from the paper, 66% occurred within a major city or in a regional area. Queensland had the highest number and rate. The mean age was 47.8 years, and 70% of cases involved males. 2/3 of cases that involved fatal bites took place at the person's home. Brown snakes were recorded as the cause of 63% of all snake bite deaths. That's the brown snake genus as a whole. So, bees, wasps, spiders, far more dangerous.
And I'm just imagining these 40-year-old dads to young kids coming in to save the day.
Yes.
And that's the majority of people getting bitten.
Again, that's sort of...
inner city men, 40 years old, probably got youngish kids.
Thinking they can handle it.
Yeah, and the ego comes into play. And this is what I always say, there's no way that you're going to be able to protect your family anymore if you're dead.
Yep.
And it's unnecessary you're not protecting them from anything anyway.
And now we have data to back it up.
Your opinion, Scott? I know...
I suppose the one thing that I would have really liked to have seen, I know this is about envenomation,
yeah,
but it would have been a great way to be able to argue horses and dogs.
Yes.
Yep.
I would like to
Exactly.
actually see how many people died from animals over that period in Australia.
It's much. I know about 5,000 a year die in swimming accidents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely read something recently, and there was like a really high number of people that have died in like
Horses,
horse-related accidents.
horses are the biggest, the
compared
most
to
dangerous
snakes.
animal in Australia, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe mosquitoes.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
hold on.
yeah, there you go.
Australia,
Yeah.
But,
But horses definitely.
Oh, horses, yeah.
yeah,
Without
sure.
a doubt.
See, I've always been really scared of getting stung by a bee and having that reaction.
Yeah.
Because I've never been stung by a bee, and now I'm so glad that I know that I've also not been bitten by a lot of snakes.
It's always nice to not be.
Well, suddenly they're all on the same playing field. When you
Yeah.
talk about anaphylaxis, it could be an inland tire, it could be a bee.
See, I've
And
never
it-
got scared of like snakes as much. Like, obviously, I have that natural fear. Because I was like, oh, like you get envenomated, blah, 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 you deal with it. And I was always really scared of bees. But now I
Well-
can have both.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
he's getting more.
It's great.
the interesting thing with the arthropods, if you look at it again, mean age 46.2, 91% male.
Dad with the broom hitting down a wasp nest.
62% within a city or in a regional area. Again, so the idea that all these snake bites happen out in the bush or out in the country,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
true. They're happening inside people's backyards and people who could either leave the snake alone or call a professional snake catcher.
Yeah.
Now there was some something that I missed apparently.
Yeah, so like 3 days ago, there was a paper that came out by Jeff Eipper as part of the Australian Snakebite.
So Jeff
Project.
Eipper from Australian Snakebite Project down in New South Wales.
University of Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle.
So
yeah.
that's come out. The ASP has been working sort of behind,
Yeah.
looking at snakebite and envenomation and trying to sort of get rid of some of the myths and rumours and stuff like that. And,
Right.
I mean, widely sort of publicised the figures, the amount of times that people get bitten by snakes in Australia, and it's widely quoted by demonstrators and other people throughout Australia that there's around to 1,000 to about 1,500 snake bites in Australia, and of that every year. Well, this data absolutely blows that out of proportion.
Right.
Of all of the doctors that have registered their information with the Australian Snakebite Project, over a 10-year period, there was only 1,548 snake bites.
Over a 10-year period.
Over a 10-year period. So that means
So that 2 to 3,000 a year is
bullshit.
Right. Good.
Now, okay, you've got to account
Okay,
you've got to account for the data that may not have been submitted to the project.
yeah, of course.
At the same time, though, I mean, the way it has been publicised, that ASP project, from my understanding, it's pretty well understood across the emergency departments of most hospitals. So they are getting a really good load
Sample
of data.
set, yeah.
So if they're hitting like 60 or 70 or even 80%,
Yeah.
even if they're only getting 50%,
Yeah, that's still
That
way
means-
under. That's way
that's
under.
3,000 snake bites over a 10-year period.
Yeah.
So that means per year, when we're saying 1,500 to
It should be
2,000,
in the
actually
30,000. It
300.
should be 20,000 to 30,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So from that, where it sort of goes with that, and then as well, that you've got that there's of that 100 people that have been bitten, or 150 people that have been bitten, you're looking at 80 to 100 that are potentially receiving antivenom,
Yeah.
and there's 2 deaths per year.
Yeah.
So the figures are the same, where they're saying that there's been 27
About 2
snake
deaths
bite
per
deaths.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, they're saying the same thing. So that there's no difference there in regards to those figures. It's just the amount of people that are actually being bitten by
Yeah,
snakes
right.
to begin with. Now, obviously, you've got to also take out of it that a lot of people aren't going to hospital and stuff like that. So there are more bites than what are being recorded in that.
Yeah.
Like
But
yourself
it's
when you
some-
were younger getting that.
Yeah, well, I used to go to hospital.
I met lots of people
That's why
that
you're still
might
here.
get bitten by like a pet or something that's not venomous that would
Yeah, of course,
do something
of
about
course,
it. But that
of
wouldn't
course.
like hugely add to the number.
Well, even if it did, it would be like an illegitimate bite,
proportion.
wouldn't it? And it's
Yeah.
going to completely throw the fucking data and
Yeah,
do it
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I suppose it's just something that's worthwhile listening to. And if you ever get a chance to see any of the Australian Snakebite Project papers,
Yeah.
really, really good
Highly
papers.
recommended Australian
look
Snakebite
at.
Project papers, yeah, from Jeff Eipper and co.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Number 2, we got Cipriani et al. Correlation between ontogenetic dietary shift and venom variation in Australian browns. That's pseudo-NAHA. Comparative Biochemistry and Physiology C, Toxicology and Pharmacology, 2017. So snake venoms, as we know, pretty rapidly evolving family of genes with going through gene duplication, functional diversification into families of venom genes. In Australia, some have evolved the prothrombin activating coagulopathic venoms. So activating the prothrombin clotting cascade in people's blood, or in mammalian blood, or prey blood, whatever kind of blood. This includes the hoplocephalus, so the broad-headed and banded snakes, Notechis, the tigers, Oxyuranus, the taipans, Pseudonaha, browns, and Tropodecus, that's the rough scales. So an ontogenetic shift is a change throughout the animal's lifetime from one thing to another. So basically there's been some evidence of this before, I think from Timothy Jackson and down there at the Fry Lab, Jackson et al. 2016. They found that nocturnal foragers, things that are basically feeding on sleeping lizards at nighttime, are lacking in procoagulant toxins. So here they're kind of looking at the functional variation in the venom compared to the diet across the whole Pseudonaha genus and across some age classes. So just briefly, I think we've got to talk about blood clotting. So there's a bunch of clotting factors in your blood. There's just briefly for the audience. Imagine a blood vessel. On the inside, you got your blood flowing through, and there's a bunch of coagulation factors in there that we're going to number from 1 to 7. Number 3 is actually on the outside of the blood vessel. So imagine you break that blood vessel and now the blood is flowing out through, and factor 3, which is on the outside, comes into contact with factor 7. It causes a bit of an enzymatic change, and now that complex of 7 and 3 can turn factor 5 into activated factor 5. Activated factor 5 can turn prothrombin into thrombin, and thrombin acts to transform in your blood a product called fibrinogen, which is soluble, to fibrin, which is insoluble, then precipitates out of the blood, which in combination with platelets forms a clot. Plasmin is another product in the which can be produced, which degrades these fibrin clots via fibrillysis, and there's other factors and cofactors involved. Got through that okay, I think. So look, they examined venom in 9 Pseudonaha and 3 juvie offspring using fluorometric enzyme activity studies, basically looking at the fluorescence difference between a substrate and a product to measure the enzyme activity. So just for example, you've got a tube of blood with some blood plasma, and you've got a fluorescent substrate for factor 5A. In this case, a protein called ANSN, which you add some venom. If FXA is in there, it's going to bind to this substrate and fluoresce more. There's going to be more fluorescing ANSN. So high fluorescence indicates high FXA activity, which itself turns prothrombin into thrombin. Thrombin turns fibrinogen into fibrin, which clots with platelets. All right. So
simple, so simple.
From the paper, once cleared by specific factors, the fluorescence group exhibits an increase in fluorescence. Specific factors were used to investigate different factors. Specific substrates were used to investigate different factors active in the venom or activated via the venom. So factor XA, plasmin, 7A, and thrombin, assessing the effect of venom on different components in the coagulation cascade, and then they mapped those coagulation activities to a phylogenetic tree from Skinner, 2005. And pretty cool, confirms the ontogenetic shift, which, pretty much to be expected. Non-coagulopathic juveniles turn to coagulopathic as adults in most of the Pseudonaha, except Modesta. Lower coagulopathic scores on its whole life, being mostly a lizard eater at night time. Is that correct?
Potentially.
Potentially?
Potentially. There's not a lot of agamids in their diet.
Yeah, okay.
So generally what you see with them is sort of eating
skinkers and
eating stuff at night.
Yeah.
You're tending to see agamids and skinks and stuff like that being highly present in the diet.
But not a lot of agamids.
Well, sleeping agamids.
Yeah. At night, there's a lot of agamids.
They're all asleep and they sleep on trees and shit like that.
Yeah,
or down in burrows. So, you get animals that aren't necessarily going up into trees, that are chasing agamids in trees and stuff like that. At the same time, though, we also don't know a hell of a lot about Pseudonaha modesta.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'm going to put a whole caveat here and say that Pseudonaha modesta, looking at the phylogeny of that, is actually more closely related to taipans than it is to brown snakes.
So you're thinking that it's going to be revised?
Well, the name was, there was a genus name that was erected for called Pseudonaha. which was by Wells.
Not a pseudonator?
Not a pseudonator. Yeah. Fucking original, isn't it? Wells
There's
is...
so many negatives in there.
Yeah. So it's a double
Not
negative.
a false cobra, yeah.
Alright, fine.
Yeah, so...
Oh, there's a nerd joke
There's just,
for you. Oh,
there's just like
God,
no
we're some horrible
backtracking
freaks.
that. Let's just add them on.
Yeah, well...
Just keep adding on to the name.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a name by Wells, so that'll be accepted any time this week. At the same time, though, I mean, there was a thesis study that looked at the phylogeny of Australian brown snakes, taipans, and black snakes, and now it's a thesis, so it's not technically published.
Okay.
So, but you're looking at that, and they suggest that there's going to be a rapid change in what would need to be the assessment of brown snakes and black snakes and a few other bits and pieces. So I suppose the only concern that I've got with that is that if Pseudonaea modesta isn't actually a Pseudonaea, does that throw out the data?
Well, on that coagulopathic score, I mean, they're using Skinner et al.'s phylogenetic tree. So if that phylogenetic tree is wrong...
Well, in Skinner's paper itself, in the conclusions of it, it does state quite clearly that
they're not sure about
Pseudonaea modesta is more closely related to taipans. So if it says that in the paper, which it does, right, then should they have shifted Pseudonaea modesta into Oxydomus?
In a different genus.
Or should they have erected a genus?
Not a Pseudonaea, yeah.
Let's
go. I'm all for not a Pseudonaea. I think it's fantastic.
It's a cool name, isn't it?
Yeah.
But,
Pseudonaea? Not a Pseudonaea.
There's one other thing that I'm going to add to that as well, is that Modesta is actually a species complex.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. There's more than one species there in the ringed browns. Is anybody looking at that?
Not now.
Not now. For me, the question was about geographic variation. So, like texties in eastern browns in Queensland are much more coagulopathic than they are in South Australia. The South Australia ones have a higher rate of taking out rat neurons with neurotoxin, and they're lower coagulopathic scores. So, how is that shift going to go? I mean, there's geographic variation on top of the ontogenetic shift. Yep. So that. How that ontogenetic shift happens and at what stage, I wonder how that varies by geographic range myself.
I mean, there's rapid diversification in venom toxicity and stuff like that as well, depending on, even within the same species. I mean, so you've got age shift, and then you've got geographic shift as well, and then you've got poorly known phylogeography of some of those things as well. So,
and then you've got epigenetics on top of that could be doing God knows what.
Well, you use eastern brown snakes as an example. I mean, we regard the ones in Papua as textilis, and yet that paper that you were talking about in the last episode,
across the
shows
straits,
that the Papuan brown snakes are much more closely related to the isolated population of textilis that's found around Alice Springs.
Right.
So maybe some of these things might need to be looked at a little bit more intensely, and go back and
do you think this is a species level changes or just locality?
I'm not a fucking geneticist. That's somebody else.
Okay, Yanni. Do you think this is a species level change, Yanni?
Yes.
All right.
You've heard it here first.
Don't listen to me. I got no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's on camera.
It's on camera now. I don't know. I think people are way too quick to jump on the fucking. Oh yeah, let's call it a new species.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, too, I think at the same time, there's also a big problem where people are too resistant to change as well.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably more on the resistant side. Not too resistant, but it does frustrate me when suddenly people just say, "Oh, let's split this, split that," instead of just looking at the subtle differences within a species.
Well, look, I think one of the issues is that you get phylogeneticists that are going through and they look at the genes, and they're looking at the genes, and then you get a zoologist that's looking at the morphology or the ecology of the species or something like that. The two fuckers need to talk.
Yeah,
you know, and
communicate.
When they talk and they communicate, you get like a beautiful paper like Horner's Cryptoblepharus revision,
which was awesome,
fucking amazing,
and well done morphology, well done phylogenetics, absolutely like jammed together really well.
Exactly, with confusing little fucking skinks.
There you go.
All right. At the same time, though, what comes out is people don't question effectively whether Paul's right on he's gone through and he's done all the hard yards. It'd be much nicer if some of these newer papers that come out with taxonomy actually spent a bit longer and worked out. At the same time, too, we have a certain other problem with people coming in and using other people's data to slap names on things. And so there's a whole political side to taxonomy, which is really, really disappointing. So
might have to talk about that another time. We might be here for 5 hours talking about that stuff.
We just need more people going back and refreshing data or double checking or getting more data rather than just constantly referring back to the one set that was put together. Yeah, for sure.
One of the other things that was pretty cool in this paper, they predicted that rhinovorous animals would have the procoagulant venom, as opposed to things that are eating skinks. So things that are eating frogs at night time are perhaps coming across them in high metabolic rate because they're calling. Mm-hmm. So they're finding these calling frogs, which as opposed to sleeping skinks, their metabolic rate is up. So you can hit them with the procoagulants and they will still manage to spread it around their body before it gums them up. Whereas those sleeping skinks, you don't want to mess with their circulation because you got to get that neurotoxin around to stop the heart. Yeah. So they figured, Pseudonaja guttata, little speckled brown, being a rhinivore eating frogs, just like red belly blacks, roughies and tigers, indeed does have those procoagulant venoms. So pretty cool. Just a nice little prediction that they pulled off there, I think.
Yeah. At the same time, though, with Pseudonaja guttata, they eat a shitload of mammals too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I think where the problem is that if you get somebody that's collecting Pseudonaja guttata, when they come to the surface out on the Mitchell Grass Plains, there's lots and lots of flooding. There's lots of flooding. There's lots of fucking frogs. If there's lots of frogs, what are going to be in the guts of the guitar?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So I think they're
perhaps
eating a lot
rhinivore
more
versus
mice.
generalist might be a better term.
Could there be a shift?
Yeah.
A seasonal shift potentially in the
seasonal ontogenetic
So
shift and
so
prey
when
type with venom.
Yeah. I don't know. More studies, more funding.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, give these people some money.
Yeah.
All right. Look, I don't think we have time for this last paper, guys. I think we're going to have to leave it there and move on to plugs. Actually, we've got a little bit of time for in the news, I think. Just quickly in the news. This is from ABC News. Queensland Nature Refuge celebrates birth of rare hairy-nosed wombat. So the first northern hairy-nosed wombat joey born in 5 years has emerged from its mother's pouch at Richard Underwood Nature Refuge in St George. With a population of just 250, it is one of the world's rarest species. A wombat specialist team reports that the mother and joey are doing well, with the baby staying close to its mother. Now, these guys were rediscovered in 1930. 240 currently at Epping Forest Park, and the St George Reserve, where this animal was born, is now up to 11 animals. So not the most common in the world. Good on them, man. Who doesn't like baby wombats?
I fucking love that.
So
They're the coolest.
That's
Taking wombats for a walk
cute.
is the best
Yeah.
time.
You've taken wombats for a walk?
Well, when we worked at Geckos, like if you didn't take them out for a show that day.
Gecko's wildlife
Bumpy.
demonstrations.
Yeah,
of course.
Bumpy would love to go for a little walk, except he'd like nip you on the heel.
Yeah.
He thinks it's like super cute, having a great time, but it hurts. So.
Oh my god.
2-year-old male wombats fucking suck.
Oh, they go a bit savage, do they?
Well, they sort of hit
They're restless.
puberty and then they're like, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to bite you on the fucking ankles.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Well,
some
they used to
shit.
bite mum on the back, and she's got that hard pad.
Yeah,
so she
right.
doesn't really
Fine.
feel it.
You're running
It's a little
along.
tap.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
the
me,
soft
I'm
little
like-
Your
ankles.
Achilles doesn't quite have
Yeah.
that hard.
Look at this, run faster.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, moving on. We're running out of time. From the scientists on the 20th of July, IVF to revive endangered white rhino population. So we were talking about rhinos with Lisa on the last show as well. Using in vitro fertilization, scientists hope to revitalize populations of the endangered northern white rhino. Illegal poaching has wiped out northern white rhino populations. There are only 3 left in the wild. A 40-year-old male and 2 younger females. So, thus fertility issues. Impossible to breed naturally because of age and just low genetic diversity. So look, they are planning to extract some eggs from the northern white rhinos later this year. Once fertilized, they hope to implant the embryos in southern white surrogates. If unsuccessful, they're going for an IVF hybrid southern north white rhino instead. Robert Hermes of the Leibniz Institute for Zoological Research in Germany told BBC, "Our great hope is to go to Africa to collect eggs from these last 2 northern white females and to fertilize them so we would have a pure northern bred white rhino embryo. But the last northern whites could die at any time. Anything could happen to them, then all their genetics would be lost. If we have at least 50% of this preserved in a hybrid, we will preserve at least half for future generations." Half of not much.
It's
It is something,
Can you
but
really bring back a population from like having the 2? Like, The genetics though.
That's
It
can be done.
yeah.
I mean,
look at the Przewalski horses.
yeah.
There was not many of those, and they've brought them right back. And there doesn't seem at this stage to be
Are there
any
issues?
No,
You're not seeing a genetic bottleneck.
Yeah.
no, you're just not seeing it. They seem to be okay.
Well, okay, there has to be a genetic bottleneck because you've only got so much genetic,
was,
but
yes.
maybe you're not seeing a health effect yet.
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
and
That's a really low population size.
Yeah.
To be the complete devil's advocate here,
Yeah.
right? How many fucking millions of dollars are they spending on this?
Yeah,
So why couldn't they spend that money onto something else?
something else like trying to get those.
Where you might be able to save it.
yeah, something you can actually make a big impact.
Yeah.
I think it's just that people have that emotional connection with them, especially because the majority of the reason that they've gotten down to 3 is from human impacts,
Yep.
from poaching, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
So I guess there is that emotive sense to it. But I totally understand your case. That's the first thing I thought of
Yeah.
when I was reading it. It's if there's 3 left of these, really,
There's really not much
They're
hope.
basically
Spending all this,
biologically dead, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
There is a minimum number for a population size to
Yeah.
be sustainable,
Yeah.
and I mean you can try, but you're only going to get
This
so
is
far.
where
I suppose
the social aspect comes into the
it's
scientific
definitely-
aspect.
yeah.
Right.
Who's going to give out often what people want is going to
sure.
outweigh
It's tough.
what is, the
what
most
is scientifically
scientific question.
All right, guys, I think we're going to have to move on. Guys, again, Nature for You. Look at this shirt, man. It's beautiful. They got these beautiful mugs there as well. I got my nice Wellesley eye there. That is a Wellesley eye, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is a Wellesley eye.
I don't like morning people or mornings or people. See that? You can get these, you can get the shirts. Now, we're also going to be auctioning off one of these to whoever has the funniest comment on our video. So like us, follow us, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Nature for You as well. Your guys are on Facebook, Instagram.
Yes,
Where else can we see you guys?
Oh, we pop up everywhere.
All around the place. All around
We
the
pop up
place.
in all sorts of places.
So guys, dude, thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed the cake.
Loved it.
Dude, it's been great meeting. My biggest thing that I'm happy about is the fact that you like old school gangster rap. That makes me really happy. So to all the herpers out there, go throw on some Nas and some Tribe Called Quest. Go clean your snake cages while listening to rap. It's good for you. It's healthy.
Good album.
Yeah.
Illmatic. There you go. Illmatic and reptile shit. That's what we're all about.
No worries.
All right. Dude, always welcome back. Hamish, Ahlia, Scott, it's been a pleasure. Guys, that's it. We'll see you next time. Hopefully, we'll be talking with the Platypus Conservation Initiative. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Woo!